global happenings today. We communicate, we analyze global news. Stay tuned.
Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. When the military took over Mali during a coup, a lot of Nigerians back home were rejoicing and facilitating with Malians, saying that's the way to go, that's the way to stop tyranny, that's the way to stop a government that is not functional, a government that is not recognizing the people, a government that wears democracy but does not practice it in true sense of the word. And Nigerians were like hoping to queue up in that same manner. Well, I'm afraid, judging by the news coming up from that angle, it may not be a good wishful thinking, as the junta that seized power in Mali wants a military-led transitional body to rule for 3 years and has agreed to release the oil's president Ibrahim Boubacar Keita. But before we go into the news proper and further analysis, we'd like you to subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red subscribe button below. Beside it, you will see a bell notification icon. Please go ahead, click on it to get notified as soon as we update our channel. Alright, a source in the visiting West African delegation said on Sunday that the junta has affirmed that it wants a 3-year transition to review the foundation of the Malian state. This transition will be directed by a body led by a soldier who will also be head of state, a source in the Ecowas delegation in capital Bamako told AFP. The government will also be predominantly composed of soldiers under the junta's proposal, the source said, on condition of anonymity. The source added that the junta has agreed to free President Keita, who has been detained along with other political leaders since the coup on Tuesday, and he will be able to return to his home in Bamako. And if he wants to travel abroad for treatment, that is not a problem, the Ecowas source said. Prime Minister Boba Cisse, who has been detained with Keita at a military base outside the capital where the coup began, will be moved to a secure residence in the city, the source also said. A junta official confirmed to AFP the decisions on the fate of Keita and Cisse, as well as that the 3-year transition would have a military president and a government mostly composed of soldiers. The coup followed months of protests calling for Keita to resign as public discontent with the government grew over the country's brutal Islamist insurgents and collapsing of economy. Well, while it was met by intentional condemnation, thousands of opposition supporters celebrated the president's oyster in the streets of Bamako. The junta has said it completed the work of the protesters and has vowed to stage elections within a reasonable time. However, Mali's neighbors have called for Keita to be reinstated, saying the purpose of the visit by the delegation from the regional Ecowas bloc was to help ensure the immediate return of constitutional order. Tuesday's coup was Mali's second in 8 years and has heightened concern over regional stability as its jihadist insurgency that now threatens the neighboring Niger and Burkina Faso. Alright, you have heard what the source said, and looking at what we already know, we all know that world over, no country, ECOWAS, UN, AU, EU, no country, no organization supports military rule. We've had a taste of a military rule during times of Abacha. And that all this freedom of speech, there's nothing like freedom of speech in the military. Well, some Nigerians will say, after all, what we are enjoying now is it not democratic military in some sense, but it's still far better than military rule. I tell you, you can imagine where soldiers they have the power. Soldiers have the power to protect the borders and also have the power to rule. They are the judge, they are the jury, they are the executioners, they are everything in one. You in your own country as a civilian, you will be a slave. Let's be careful what we wish for ourselves. Right now, let's just hope that all things work together for Mali. Our hearts are with them, but the truth is, if these guys decide to keep up with them for the next 3 years, except there's a UN intervention, except there's an Ecowas intervention, except there's an EU intervention, except there's an AU intervention, international bodies intervening. It may not all go fine with the Malians. For the night, they may be excited. Okay, finally, yeah, they've hoisted him out. We are happy, whatever. We know that. But eventually, by the time military get power drunk, they will beg for democracy once again. I tell you. But let's quickly feel the pulse of Nigerians over this, because of course Nigerians, seeing that initially Nigerians were like hoping that maybe we could just move the Mali way and see how we can do. But honestly, we are seeing the way it's playing out. No one tests absolute power. It takes courage, it takes determination, it takes discipline to test power in that magnitude and let it go to another. Initially, they had agreed on a 6-month transition. Now they're saying that in the appropriate time. But feelers are saying that they're actually looking at 3 years. And that 3 years may never come. That 3 years, by the time it gets to 3 years, may become 6 years, may become 9 years. And we're looking at military, then sanctions will begin to come in. Sanctions have begun already. The next thing, they cut them off here, it's the civilians, the citizens that will eventually suffer this whole mess. But let's see how it plays out eventually. Let's feel the pulse of Nigerians and generally Africans over this matter. This one here say, wow, 3 years, this won't end well for Mali. I tell you, it may likely not. Yes, some person say it doesn't matter. What's really the difference between the military and the Keita rule? It's basically the same. But there's a difference. In Keita's rule, is democracy. This is military. You honestly think that military men will listen to you? Because that's no longer, there's nothing like legislature. This is pure military. Everyone there is all about soldiers. Let's continue. This one here is saying, has democracy ended well for one of Mali's sister countries since its 20 years plus democratic rule? This one here is saying, a long way to go. Malian on a long thing, back on the street. A cry for our disoriented youth. This is power in unity. There is power in unity if channeled to the right cause. This one here is saying, wahala deo. With the military in power, I hope them no go be the North Korea of Africa. This one here is saying, if military rule will make things work for them, I'm totally in support of it. If democratic rule will not work, I'll kick against it. It's high time we stop copying the Western world and do something that will work well for us by charting a new course in our own continent and country's own growth path. Democracy isn't working for most West African countries, truth be told. And that's because of the looting, basically. When they get in there, they get power drunk. But if we continue, as in honestly enjoy and apply the tenets of democracy the way it ought to be done, democracy is a beautiful thing, where the legislature have their independent power without being uninterrupted and without being corrupted. Executive have their power, judiciary have their power. Honestly, the civilian eventually will enjoy, the citizens enjoy the true tenets of democracy. But most times it's always bastardized. And at the end of the day, it's still the same citizens or civilians, as the case may be, suffer the broth. This one here is saying 3-year military rule. You think the world is stupid? That's how Maradona dribbled Nigerians. No one should ever trust khaki boys. They are dubious. This one here says, we need it in Nigeria. We don't need it in Nigeria. Beg to disagree here. I don't want military rule. I am sure most Nigerians do not want military rule. No matter what we're going through, we'll surpass this. This also is a storm. This one too shall pass. Whether we'll succeed or we will not succeed, it's up to us to decide. But eventually, I do not desire that we go back to military regime. It's not the best. I tell you, my brothers and sisters. Let's continue. This one here is saying, Mali is on fire. I tell you, Mali is truly on fire if they don't do something fast about it. 3 years, they're not even saying 1 year. They're saying 3 years. From 3 years, it's going to go to 6 years. It's going to get to 9 years. It will become infinity, of which it will now become a dogged war to get them out of military era to democratic era. But let's continue. This one here is saying, if the military juntas will justify their rule as a way of bringing a political stability for their country or rescuing it from the threat of dangerous ideologies, then it's a go ahead. Because these juntas tend to portray themselves as a neutral party that can provide interim leadership in times of turmoil, and also tend to portray civilian politicians as corrupt and ineffective. And that is actually what you should be scared of. If they're all saying all civilians are corrupt, then are you saying also that all military people are also sane and straight? They're all khaki. They're all men in khaki uniform. That doesn't mean that they have been able to cut out the greed in them. Every man is an economic man. Why give out what you know you can actually earn for yourself? It takes discipline. But the time will tell if eventually they will let go of power, or it will take the world powers to remove powers from the military era in Mali. But that's where we're going to wrap it up. What's your take on this? Comparing the facts and figures to what is happening in Nigeria. Do you honestly believe that Nigeria deserves that kind of going back to military era, or do you think we will always find a way of sorting our problems ourselves? Let's interact in our comment section. Don't also forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for more updates on these and much.